So if you're joining me today for this training, then you're probably like I was, and a mom just looking to add a little bit of income so that I would be able to stay at home with the kids. After I left the workforce to be a stay-at-home mom, we struggled financially. But going back to work really wasn't an option because the cost of childcare and what I would have been bringing in my new career with my new degree just wasn't enough. So here we were, one income household, living paycheck to paycheck while I was shopping my postpartum depression away. I've talked about this a lot. And during that my first kid, and actually I had multiple kids, but that's how I dealt with postpartum depression. And I was just shopping a lot. And so that was not a good situation. So I believed, probably as you guys have, that if we had more income, it would make things easier. So this is an interesting belief to have in that situation, since before we had kids, we were a 2-income household and we still had tons of debt. So it wasn't the income that was the problem, but how we were managing it. So we weren't managing it before I became a stay-at-home mom, and definitely not after. Sometimes, a bigger shuffle just doesn't help if you're not really digging the right way anyway. If adding income won't help, what will? Is there any hope? Yes, there is hope. So adding income can definitely be an option when you're trying to achieve financial freedom, but it's not the first step. It's not the first thing I would ever advise anybody to start working on. Oh, just go get more income. That's not the first one to try. Trust me when I tell you this. I have worked Instacart. I've done all the hustling. And before we had a real system in place, it was wasted time and money. So trust me when I tell you, you will not only be wasting your time, but all of that money that you earn, your habits and your beliefs about money, they don't change just because you increase your income. So before you added income, if you weren't saving money, then by adding more income, you won't magically be able to save more money. You have to address the habits first. So how can we get more money? So I talked about the whole theme of this is how to get more money without the side hustle. So let's dive into that. Okay, so we're getting to the good stuff here. So let's dive into this. So first thing you need to do is you need to be intentional about the money you have. So you need to streamline your money system so that you're spending money on what you want to be spending money on. Okay. This is the one thing that most people are missing from their money system. They might have parts of it, but they don't have it as a whole. And because it's not completely together, they won't have that foundation to move you towards your goals. We address this by adding that intentionality to make sure that you have a spending plan in place. Your spending plan, we talk a lot about your spending plan gives you a plan for your money. And how do you want to be spending your money? It's not restriction. You're not restricting your spending. It's giving you that plan. And it may not always go perfect. But we're not really aiming for perfection here, guys. We're aiming for progress. So every month you'll get better and better at this. So the next step, once you've added that level of intentionality with the spending plan, the next step to adding more intentionality to your money system is making sure that your spending habits are aligned with your values and your goals. So basically, you want to be spending your money on what matters most to you. When you know what is most important, you can make better decisions. This also means, and this is going to be rough for some of you, I know it was for me as well. Basically, it also means you have to have an understanding of the reality of what you're spending your money on. And I know this is tough to address sometimes. In fact, if you're like me, I would stuff my head in the sand because I had no idea what I would even do with that information. So even if I knew what I was spending money on or how bad it was, what would I do with that information? So that can be tough to do. So when you know what matters to you, then you can align your spending with what matters to you. So this is important. We're able to face your habits. And when you have these tools that you can actually change the ones that don't allow you to spend on what matters most and what really lights up your life, right? So when you know this, then you can make better intentional decisions on how to spend your money. I know that this was something that I definitely struggled with is an understanding that not just where I'm spending my money, but making sure that it's aligned with where I want to be spending my money. So you really need that level of intentionality there, and that can be difficult. Like I said, when you know what matters most to you, you can make these intentional decisions. So you can decide whether you're going to spend money on coffee all month, or you're going to put that money in a dream vacation. There's nothing inherently wrong with either of those choices. I really don't care how you spend your money. I tell every single one of my clients that I don't care how you spend your money. There is zero judgment. You work hard for that money. You decide how you spend it. My concern is the big picture. Are you spending in alignment with what you say you want? This is the key to aligning your spending habits. So this is what you want to make sure. So if you tell me, oh, I'm spending all this money on coffee, but it's not really a great thing. Okay, well, we're going to have to address that. And that we look at that by addressing that in the final step, which is addressing your mindset. Okay, this is not easy. It is not easy to go being in the day-to-day grind to thinking about your financial decisions, thinking of them on a micro level of that $5 coffee, right? To looking at it from a big scale, seeing that $5 coffee that you purchase 4 times a week and how that affects you in the long-term scale. So to go from, okay, so I'm spending 5 times a week, or I'm sorry, 4 times a week, $5 is $20 a week, 52 weeks out of the year, that's $1,040, 1040, $1,040 over the course of a year. Okay, that's a lot of money. Now, if coffee doesn't light you up or bring you joy and it's just a convenience factor, you're not just wasting that $1,000. You're also wasting the opportunity that money can actually provide you. Now, if you enjoy coffee and it brings you joy and it brings it's a part of your self-care and all of that, spend that money on that coffee. It is money well spent. But if it's just about the convenience factor, it's not bringing you real joy, then that money is wasted. You're wasting that money on all the things you could be doing with that money that actually matters to you, like saving money for college, dream vacations, or even investing it, and actually all the money opportunity that could be wasted there. There's a huge mindset shift to go from thinking in that day-to-day, that $5 coffee that you're spending, to that long term of saying, okay, this is $1,000 over the course of the year. How important is this coffee to me? It's difficult to shift that. So what do we think? How are we thinking about that? I know that mindset shift can be big for a lot of people. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. Let me know if that's something that you definitely are going to have to look into shifting, because I know for me, I was only spending in the day-to-day, swiping the debit card, and I wasn't really paying attention to all of that. And so that mindset of seeing, okay, these small things that I do today actually can affect me in a year or 2 years or 5 years down the road, depending on what you wanted to do with that money. So if you were to implement these parts into your money system, the 3 parts we just talked about, you would have a lot more money to spend on what matters most. When people tell me they don't have money, I have to say, let's look at how you're managing it. Because most of the time there is money. It's just not being managed the way that aligns with you. It's not bringing you joy. It's not bringing you happiness. It's not bringing you what you want into your life. So when you're implementing these parts, you'll be able to have more money. You'll be able to recognize where that wasteful spending, and I use wasteful as not in the sense of, as a bad thing, but wasteful as in the sense of, this is not where you want to be spending. It's not aligned with your goals. Okay. You can spend your money however you like, but if you're spending money on something that's not important to you, that's what I consider wasteful. So you want to start spending that money on what matters to you. And you're going to find that once you implement these things, you will have more money to do that. Even better is that if you decide you do want that bigger shovel, that you're ready for a side hustle, that you want to bring in that income, you're going to have a system in place that can support you. So you'll be able to use those funds, those extra funds, to get you there faster. Okay. So you can see that just by focusing on just getting that side hustle and focusing on bringing more income, that you're actually wasting your time and your money. So before you try to get a bigger shovel, you really need to have a system in place to take on all that extra income and help you achieve your goals. Financial freedom isn't done overnight. It happens a little bit each day with each intentional decision that's made. My intentional spending method that I use actually helps you add this intention without wasting your time and your money. Take action this week on the things that we talked about, and I will talk to you soon.